All right. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining this session. As I announced, today and tomorrow are going to be two demo session for this database course. What I'm planning to talk about today is I'll just start with the introduction about me, followed by course curriculum, and then followed by course details and some of the basics of Linux and some of the basics of networking and database architecture and types of databases. And then meantime, I allowed everyone to unmute yourself. You have any questions, queries, you want to ask or clarify anything, feel free to unmute yourself and ask any questions, or you can use a chat box here and then you can post your question here. I'll be monitoring the chat box. I'll take up your question. Right. Hope you guys can able to hear my voice and able to see my screen. Uh, if no, then or if yes, just give thumbs up or like just comment here if you're able to hear my voice or able to see my screen. All right. Thanks for confirmation. All right, let's get started now. Again, as I said, feel free to unmute yourself and ask any questions. Meantime, if you got like any questions or queries in between. With that, about me, I'll be having around 15 years of experience in this Oracle world. I'm a core Oracle DBA. I started my career after my college graduation as a Oracle junior Oracle DBA, and then it's been 15 years I'm working in this IT industry as a one of the Oracle SME. Whereas I worked for various organizations, started with I Get Global Solutions, followed by Oracle Corporations, Exa Group of companies, Wipro, and then some of the on-site projects and some of the migrations. All this entire 15 years, what I worked was is purely on Oracle technologies. I never deviated from this Oracle world. Although having said that, if somebody asked what is my primary skills, Oracle is my primary skills, and along with that, uh, there are a lot of questions or a lot of queries people will be having nowadays. Cloud is booming and DevOps is growing up. Is it a worth to enhance our skills and learn the secondary technologies? Again, it is all left to individual perspective. As coming to me, I am a Oracle expert and worked this entire 15 years on all the various products of Oracle. And along with that, I also certified with Oracle Cloud and MS SQL database, PostgreSQL, MySQL, and some of the DevOps technologies like Terraform, Ansible, uh, cookbooks, and chef. So these are my other secondary skills. It is all left to individuals who are interested to learn or enhance their knowledge. You are allowed to go and then expand your knowledge. But if you want to stick to Oracle word, and there are a lot of opportunities within the Oracle word, you can learn all of them, right? In this entire 15 years, where I worked on various Oracle products, started with core Oracle DBA and rack database, Golden Gate expert, and Oracle Data Guard expert. And these are like core Oracle database expertise what I have it. And at the same time, I also worked on all the Oracle engineering systems. What are the engineering systems in Oracle? Your Oracle Exadata, Oracle Supercluster, Oracle Sun Solaris, and Oracle Exalogic. These are like other engineering system, including ODA and Oracle Cloud, Oracle Autonomous Database. These are like other engineering system. I worked on all these engineering system as well. And then again, Oracle has some of the application product like Oracle EBS, e-business suites apps, and Oracle PeopleSoft, and Oracle SOA, and Oracle OBI. These are like other Oracle application related products. So even I worked as a Oracle EBS app DBA, OBI app DBA, and PeopleSoft admin. So these are my entire Oracle products where I entire these 15 years I worked. And at the same time, other my DevOps skills are like this Ansible, Terraform, Kubernetes, Chef cookbooks, and other database technologies like PostgreSQL, MS SQL, DB2, SAP HANA. These are my other database technologies where I worked on those products as well. And at the same time, I also worked as a Informatica admin and Informatica Airbin data modeling design. So these are like various products where I worked for this entire 15 years of my IT career. And then coming to the major product or major projects where I worked with Oracle was, or in this particular Oracle technology was the entire data center build for one of the banking customer and one of the data center migration from Washington DC to New Jersey. That is the entire data center migration for one of the insurance company. So these are like major project what I did it. One is data center built from the scratch. One is the entire data center migration from Washington DC to New Jersey. That's on Oracle Exadata. So these are like major projects what I implemented for one of the big customers. And then apart from that, some of the major activities like rack setup, rack build from the scratch, data guard setup, golden gate setup, all those are like regular activities where I worked on that. So these are like the major activities what I involved and what I accomplished. And also coming to the organization or industries where all I worked. So I started with the IT sector. I get global solutions, followed by I worked for some of the insurance and retail and banking sector. So these are like various financial or like insurance or banking sectors where I handled all the databases with the OLTP and OLAP data warehouse databases, all those things. So these are like various industries where I worked entire this 15 years. Right. So that's about me, where I spent most of my time on this Oracle technologies, and then refreshing myself to up to date and learning new technology, what's coming new with Oracle, and then enhancing my skills right on day-to-day basis. That's where it helped me to be on top of this Oracle world. Right. With that, you all aware that I am one of the Oracle ACE awarded by Oracle Corporation. I'm helping my knowledge, whatever knowledge I have it in Oracle with this Oracle world. That's one of the prestigious award where Oracle will, give this Oracle ACE award for, minimal peoples who can contribute and who can help this Oracle community. That's other interesting areas where I used to handle, and I used to uh, provide my knowledge, whatever I have it in Oracle world, back to Oracle community. Right. So with that, if no questions, I'll proceed further. And then I will go ahead with the course curriculum because that's very important, right? Without knowing the course curriculum, there's no point of attending this course, and without knowing your future plan, paying money and then taking this course is no use, right? So let's jump onto the course curriculum and then understand uh, how this course curriculum looks like. So if you are not aware, just go to my blog, malik034blogs.com, and then check for this course curriculum. Probably I can put this in the video description. You can take a look on this, the course curriculum. Right, I'll directly jump on the course curriculum. So we'll start with the uh, setting up of the environment, because we are going to set up our own environment on individual laptop, and we're going to practice all the lab exercise on that particular lab environment. So we'll start with the setting up of the environment. We'll install the Linux operating system. On top of the Linux operating system, we'll install the database software, and we'll create the databases, and we'll do all the lab and practice exercise on our individual laptops. That's a lab environment setup. We'll understand that some of the basics of networking and Linux, because as a DBA, you should be aware that you should be having a minimal knowledge of Linux operating system and Linux basics commands, followed by the basic networking commands. So all will be covered here in this chapter number 1 and 2, starting with the Linux understanding and what are the tools we're going to use it as a DBA in day-to-day activities, and some of the networking and Linux administrative basic activities will be covering here in the first and second chapter, and followed by chapter number 3, 4, and 5 are going to be various types or various modes or various methods of your database installation. Very, very critical. So as a DBA, we will be involved in many activities such as installing Oracle software, installing database software, installing grid software, installing ASM software, And once you install your grid software, ASM software, database home, Oracle home, ASM home, these are like software provided by Oracle. Once you install them, on top of that, you're going to create a databases, whatever types of databases. We're going to talk about the types of databases here in a minute. So we're going to install different types of databases. These are like common activities as a DBA. We are going to involve as when you started working as a DBA. So we will understand how we are going to install various types of database. Sometimes we'll install it in GUI mode. That's a graphical user interface mode. That's the easiest way to install it. And sometimes we'll install it in a silent mode. Without graphical user interface, we will install it in a silent mode, command line mode. How you're going to do that one. So we'll start with understanding those various types of database installation and various modes of your database installation. And at the same time, we're going to compare what all changes are happened when it comes to 11G, 12C, 19C. So these are like 11G is outdated, no support by Oracle. Oracle is already announced end of support for 11G. Currently, 12C and 19C are the two supported Oracle database versions. And this particular course is precisely based upon 19C database version. But at the same time, we will be comparing with what are the changes in 12C and 11G and 19C. On each and every topic, we'll give a comparison and what all changes happened between 11G to 12C and 12C to 19C. All will be covered all as we go further with this each and every topic. But we remember this course is based upon 19C database version and Linux operating system. We are not covering any Windows operating system, or Windows operating system is out of the scope. We'll not be covering that installation, troubleshooting activities and all on the Windows platform. It's all under Linux platform. Right. So these three chapters, chapter number 3, 4, 5 are all like types of databases, types of installations and modes of installations and comparison between 11G, 12C, 19C, what all changes are occurred for this installation, all will be covered here. Right. And then chapter number 6 is very, very important. That's where we will jump into that core database architecture. So without knowing a database architecture, uh, our DBA task as a DBA, so they're meaningless. So as a DBA, you should understand core database architecture first, and then you should be very strong in this core fundamental architecture of your database. And at any given point of time, if somebody asked you to explain about database architecture, draw a database architecture, or brief about your database architecture, so you should be able to explain in flawlessly, and you should not be, blabber, and you should not be stop, or you should not be think to explain about database architecture. Even in a midnight when you are sleeping, if somebody asked you what is database architecture, you should be able to get up and then answer the questions, because most of the interview you attend for any organization, the first question they will ask you is, can you brief about database architecture? If not, they will ask about what is SGA, what is PGA, what is uh, data files, what are your memory architecture, what is instance, what is database server, what is SMON, PMON, DBrater, LogRater, what is your SAID pool, large pool, Java pool. These all are part of your database architecture. So either they will ask you about explain database architecture, or they will ask you to draw database architecture, or they will ask you about each and individual component. Can you explain about SGA, PGA, DBrater, LogRater, SMON, PMON, and then what is your database connectivity modes? So everything is comes under your database architecture. Once you understand core fundamental architecture, and you can enhance your skill into any Oracle product. So once you understand about your database architecture, so this database architecture is a core fundamental for your rack architecture. This architecture is core fundamental for your golden gate. And this architecture is fundamental for your data guard. And this architecture is fundamental for your Exadata and supercluster, Solarize, EBS. Wherever you go, database architecture is very, very must and mandatory. And entire Oracle is depending upon this architecture. So you should be able to understand each and every things on this database architecture. Right. Once we are thorough and then strong on the database architecture, every concept, everything is clear for everyone, then we'll move on the administrative part. Administrative part is like so much things inside that. Uh, and again, in the architecture part, we'll be comparing what are the differences from 11G to 12C. There are major architecture changes happened. In 11G, there are no PDB, CDB support. Starting with 12C, Oracle started with the PDBs and CDB architecture. So we'll compare what is the changes happened from 11G to 12C, and again from 12C to 19C, what are the changes that happened. So all will be compared so that you won't get any confusion. Like, you no need to go ahead and then go back and learn your 11G, 12C, and 19C. So as and when we are explaining about 19C architecture, we'll be comparing side by side with your older 11G and 12C so that you won't get into the confusion, right? Right, and then chapter number 7 is all about administration, where we'll administrate our database instance, databases, and we'll understand all the various database files, and followed by our P file and SP file and password file and automatic memory management, SGA, PGA. All those things will do that hands-on experience with a live demonstration, all of this. And followed by your data files, table space, and storage management for your database, right? Dictionary managed, locally managed, automatic segment space management, understanding of segment extents, blocks, how these are logical relationships are mapped with my actual physical data files. And then your data block and parameter, how you're going to define in your PA file, right? And then how these data blocks are mapped to my OS blocks, OS disk level, how you're going to map your database blocks with the OS blocks. So that we covered in this storage architecture of my database. And then followed by ASM. ASM architecture, again, there's a one more advanced architecture on top of your database architecture. Very, very important. We're going to talk about uh, ASM architecture and why we need ASM. Oracle strongly recommends run your database on ASM, right? So this is very important. We're going to try to understand how you're going to install ASM, how you're going to manage your ASM, and once you install, how you're going to administrate you that ASM. So just wanted to show you some difference here since I'm talking about ASM. If I can just bring my lab here. So here one of my database, this particular database, if I do ps-ef grep smon is the command to check your database. ps-ef grep smon. So it says dev cdb database up and running here. And if I can connect to my owner for this particular dev cdb is a database name. And for this database, Oracle is the owner here. Whatever you are seeing, this Oracle is the owner. I need to switch SU Oracle and then set the environment for that. .orinv, I'm going to set the environment to that DB. And if I connect to the database, and I can list out my data file, select name from $, data file. They're going to give me so many data files here. All are starting with slash user1 app Oracle Data DevDB and some GUID name, we can call this one, followed by your data files and all your undo and all your system data files, sysag data files, user data files, temp data files. All the data files are coming from your OS side here. This is your normal database. And if I can go to other lab, if I do ps-ef grep smon, I have my ASM instance here. And if I connect to any one of this database, again, ps-ef grep smon is a OS command that's going to list out all the databases running on that server, who is the owner of that databases. So I can switch to that particular owner and I can set the environment using this dot space .env. That's going to ask which SID or which database you want to set. I need to give the database name. And once I set, it's going to set the environment. I can connect using SQL plus class as a DBA. And now if I run the same command, select name from $, data file. So that's going to give me plus data. Where is this plus data? If I exit and try to log into that directory, CD, it will not allow. This plus is not a OS storage. It's your ASM storage. Whereas here in this lab here, if I go to this particular directory, exit, if I do CD, change directory, if I go to that directory, if I do ls-l, I can see all the data files belongs to that database. So this is your OS storage. Anything start with a slash, that's your storage is coming from your OS side. It may be your SAN, NAS, or whatever the storage. And this particular database is running under might be SAN, NAS, or local storage of that server. And if coming to this particular database here, which is running under ASM, So Oracle is strongly recommends run your database on ASM so that your anyone runs, reads, writes query into your database, it will be much more faster. We'll try to understand how we are going to build your database on ASM. So in order to build your database on ASM, first you need to start your ASM instance. Plus ASM is your ASM instance. You need to first start your ASM install. And once you're done with ASM installation, on top of that ASM installation, you have to do your database installation. So your ASM is must. So we'll understand what is ASM, how to install that ASM, and what is the architecture of ASM, and what are the advantages of ASM and administration of that ASM instance and the storage as well. Right. And followed by multi-tenancy architecture, very, very important. As I said, starting with the 12C, in 11G, there are no multi-tenant architecture. Starting with the 12C, Oracle started with this multi-tenant architecture. So that become continued with the 18C database version, 19C database version, 21C database version, and 23 database version. So in 11G, there are no multi-tenant architecture. And in 12C, they started with the multi-tenant architecture. And in 12C, you can create your database as a normal DB or multi-tenant DB. So this multi-tenant architecture, they had option. When you create a database in 12C, you can have an option to choose whether it's a normal database or multi-tenant database. Even in 18C, you have an option that normal database or multi-tenant database. Even in 19C, you have that option. You want to create it as a normal database or you want to create it as a multi-tenant database. Whereas in 21C onwards, there is nothing called normal database. Everything you create is a default multi-tenant database. So as a DBA, learning, understanding of multi-tenant architecture is very, very mandatory going forward with the future. Because Oracle has completely stopped starting with this 21C onwards. There is no normal database concept. Everything is a multi-tenant database. So whenever you create a database, it will be like default multi-tenant database starting with the 21C. So as a DBA, we need to understand that multi-tenant architecture. Multi-tenant architecture, nothing but your CDB, container database, and PDB, pluggable database. So CDBs and PDBs are the part of your multi-tenant architecture. We're going to understand what is that CDB, what is that PDB, how it works. In simple understanding, let's draw here. So if you create, this is your lab 1, Linux server 1, and this is your lab 2, Linux server 2. That's your OS Linux operating system. If you create a database, DB, that will be only one database. And if you have apps, like you have application 1, like you can say this is your HR application. So this HR application will connect to your database DB here. And whereas in lab 2, if you create it as a multi-tenant architecture, and inside this particular, this is your DB again, and inside your DB, that DB is called CDB, right? Container database. Inside that container database, you can create your pluggable database, 1, 2, 3, 4 pluggable, multiple pluggable databases. So you have HR application, and then you can point to that one PDB. And you have finance application, and you have finance application, you can point to one more PDB here. And if you have anything, marketing application, and you can connect to one of the pluggable database here. Within one single database, you can have a small or the pluggable databases so that you can run multiple application inside one database itself. That's a multi-tenant architecture which is came in 12C. So that is going to be future focus from the Oracle side. So as a DBA, we should understand what is this multi-tenant architecture, how to manage. If it's a standalone database, straightforward, I can manage it. And if it is a multi-tenant architecture, how I can manage that. That's going to be covered in and out in this particular chapter number 10. So I can quickly show on that multi-tenant architecture. So here, if I can connect to this database, show PDBs. So here, show PDBs, it is not showing anything. I connected to my test DB. This is a test DB is a normal database, and there are no PDBs inside that. So if I connect to my other database, I have one more database in this server, that is a test CDB. So if I can connect to this one and log into database, and if I do show PDBs, PDBs are again pluggable databases. So we have one default PDB. I can create 2, 3, 4, 5, n number of PDBs inside this particular single database. And then I can give it to all my application users, different applications. Right, that's your chapter number 10 will be covered. Everything on this PDBs and CDBs here. Chapter number 11 is Oracle networking. How an application will connect to my database. I have my two servers and all the my application might be running in somewhere in your remote data center or somewhere in your other data center or other regions, and how the end users are going to connect to my database. So you have a something concept called listeners, TNS, SQLnet data, and remote connections, sessions. All those will be understand in this particular Oracle connectivity. So as a DBA, when we were working as a DBA, we used to get many every day, day in and day out. We used to get a many requests from our developers. I'm unable to connect to database. It says TNS connection lost. My password got expired. My DB is down. My listener is down. So my TNS is corrupted. So many day in and day out will get those kind of a request. So understanding of networking and connectivity of my database is very important. So we're gonna understand on this particular networking concept here. So just single simple example, if I wanted to draw, this is my lab one. I think this is my database server, Linux operating system, where my prod DB is running here. I'll just give a name as prod DB. So I am a developer. I am using one Windows operating system or Linux operating system or anything. If I want to connect to this database, what all I need? So I need something called TNS names reservoir file. We need something called TNS entry. What are the TNS entry includes? The TNS entry includes host name, where your database is running. That's the lab one. Host name or the IP address. That's the first thing. And then we need a protocol. What protocol the database is listening. We need a port number, right? We need a port number on which port my database is running. Host name or the IP address where your database is running, and protocol on which protocol your database is listening, whether it's a TCP or UDP, RDS, whatever the protocol, we need that protocol. We need a port on which port it is running, 1521, 1522, 1523, which port your database is listening or running. The port number we need. And then your DB name, prod is the DB name, right? You have all the details. Along with that, you should have your username one and the password for that. Username one and password. If you use the second user, username two, and then the password, or your individual username and password. You have all these details, host name or the IP address where your database is running, and the protocol on which protocol your database is running or listening, and the port number on which port your database is listening or running, and the database name. What is your database name? If you have all these details and your user ID and valid password is available inside database, with all the details, you will be able to connect to your database, right? So in order to take all these incoming connections, we have something called listener here. Listener, we call it as a listener.ora file. We'll be running some listener on the server side. That listener will take the incoming connection, validate all the username and password and all the details whatever you provided, and then it'll allow you to connect to database. So this is very important, the connectivity to your database that will be discussed here in this particular Oracle networking, that chapter number 11, right? And then followed by the managing that user account. As I said, you will be having your own individual username and password inside my database. And then what are privileges, what are grants, and what are roles, what all activities you can perform on that database, the security, the restriction. As a DBA, there will be hundreds of users inside my database. We need to monitor all the access privileges of all those users, and we need to restrict them doing some abnormal activities. So all those will be like comes under this user account management, right? This all about comes under your database architecture and database administration. It will be like part of our day-to-day activities. And followed by this chapter number 13, 14, and 15, very important, your backups and recoveries. Because this is going to be one of the disaster scenario and one of your business continuity plan. What that mean, like if your production database is running on one data center, assuming that you have a data center, London data center, and in London data center, your database servers are hosted, and inside database servers, your databases are running. In any reason, your London data center crashed and entire data center is gone because of some disaster or any activities. So how are you gonna continue your business? You don't want to spend hours or days together to rebuild your data center, because rebuilding data center take 1 month, 2 month, or 3 month. Is your business is going to be down for 1 month, 2 month? So how you are gonna plan your business continuity? For that, the backup strategy is very, very important. How you are going to protect your database, how you're going to take a backup of your databases, what are the different ways to take up your database backups. In case of any server crashes or any data center crashes, you should be able to restore your databases using those backups, right? So very, very important. So we're going to talk about various backup of your database, various types of your backups, like legacy backups, and there are hot backups or cold backups and logical backups and user managed backups and your RMAN backups. In RMAN backup, you have full backup, level 0 backup, level 1 backup, cumulative backup, differential backup. And these are like different types of backups for your Oracle. So we're going to talk about all these differences and all with the example. And then one of these are like your backup and recovery strategies in case of anything goes wrong with your database, and how strongly you set your backup strategy, so that how quickly you can restore your database. We can call it as something called RTO and then RPO. So your recovery time objective and recovery point objective, RTO and RPOs are very, very critical for any business operations, right? So we're going to discuss all of them here in the backups and recovery strategies. And chapter number 15, so common activity, right? So your developer, like you have a production database here running under your prod database is running here, and your developer will be doing the testing and product implementation, product design and all. They will ask you to, can you build a duplicate copy of my production database into my development system or my testing system, right? So production database, it may be 10 terabyte or it may be 50 terabyte or it may be 100 terabyte. Your database may be whatever size. You have to replicate, you have to clone that database from production server to development or from production server to test server. So you have to build your database. That's your database cloning, RMAN cloning. We have different ways to clone your database from production database to development or test or UAT. So this is a kind of a common activity. Your developers will regularly ask every weekly or every monthly or every quarterly. He will definitely, this is going to be one of the common activity, cloning your production database copy into your development or testing system. So that will be covered with the various methods to clone, right? You can use a restore recover, or you can use a RMAN active database duplication, or you can have your backup based duplication. Many methods we're going to cover in this chapter number 15, right? So then coming to chapter number 16, that's your patching activities. Because once you install your database software, once you create your database, that's not a final job, right? So there will be a lot of vulnerabilities. There will be a lot of ransomware security. There will be a lot of hackers. Your database security is topmost concern from your business leaders. So how are you going to protect your databases against these ransomware attacks or your cyber threats or your hackers? So for that, applying patches is going to be one of the key activity for DBAs. Oracle will release quarterly patches. 4 times Oracle will release the patches, right? So 4 times means Oracle typically 4 types, 4 quarterly patches, starting with the Jan and April, and followed by your October and sorry, April, July, and then October. So these are like 4 quarterly patches Oracle releases, and it is left to us whether I can apply all 4 quarterly patches or I can apply only Jan and July or April and October too, or every quarterly one, yearly once. It is left to us as a business decision we have to take how frequently we do our patching exercise of my databases. So we'll cover this patching exercise, and there are different types of patches Oracle releases. Your CPU, PSU, bundle patch, one-off patch, merge patch, interim patch, online patch. There are a lot of patches. We're going to use those patches and apply it on our databases. And to apply that patch, there are different methods like OPatch tool, OPatch auto, and manual method, silent method, and automated method. All those will be like discussed over here in this patching to make our database secure. And along with the security, these patches will increase your database performance, right? That will be covered here in the chapter number 16. And chapter number 17 is your database upgrade. So if your database is 12C, how you're going to upgrade it to 19C? If your database is 11G, how you're going to upgrade it to 12C? And if your database is 12C and then how you're going to upgrade to 19C? Again, your database is 11G, how you're going to upgrade to 19C? And if your database is 18C, how you're going to upgrade to 19C? Or if your database is 11G, how you're going to upgrade it to 21C or 23C? Right? So there are various database versions and how you're going to upgrade. What are the pre-checks? What are the post-checks? What are the various method to upgrade? Do you remember, like, to do a database upgrade, we have around 6 to 7 methods, and most of the DBAs not aware that what are those 7 methods. They either use a DBA or they either use the silent method. So remember, like, to do a database upgrade, we have 6 to 7 database methods to upgrade. You can use either a Perl script or a shell script, DBA, silent method, or auto upgrade, or the cat upgrade script, or migrate mode, upgrade mode. So there are a lot of modes you can do your database upgrade. So that will be covered here, various database upgrade methods in this chapter number 17. Right. And followed by data guard. Again, this data guard is going to be one of the uh, your data guard, like DR, disaster recovery scenario. DR, we can say data guard architecture or standby database. Many method they will call it a data guard, understand data guard architecture, standby database or standby architecture or data guard architecture. Many things, like whatever name you can call it, everything is remain same. So what is the data guard architecture? So as I said, you have a data center in London and then you have a data center in New York. Your production database running under London, and the replica of your production database will be built on your New York. That's your standby or the data guard. And any user connect to your production database and do a transaction, and that transactions will be replicated to your standby on instantaneously. So that this is going to be one of your business continuity plan or your disaster recovery scenario. What that mean? This database is of 100 terabyte, and same 100 terabyte will be running under this New York, and each and every transactions, whatever user connect and do transaction on the production database, those transactions will be applied on your standby instantaneously. Why? Because if your production London data center is crashed, you have this 100 terabyte backup. To restore that database, it will take around 24 hours, or it may take 48 hours. And is your business is willing to or ready to wait for that 48 hours or 24 hours to restore that entire database from the backup? No, right? So how your business is going to continue? So whatever the standby database will ask the end user to connect to my standby database. So that's your one of the business continuity plan, disaster recovery scenario. In case of any data center crash, you have already replica of your production database with up to date of data. Whatever the transactions are happened here, the same transactions are happened on your standby side as well. So all end users will connect to your standby database. So how, as a DBA, make sure that this replications is happening from production to standby, and how are you going to monitor this shipping from production to standby, and what are the standby database modes? What are the standby database types? And then if there's a replication is broken, how I can make it sync again, right? My FRA is full, how I can make it full again, make it replicate again. So all those will be covered here in this data guard. We're going to build data guard from the scratch. We're going to monitor the replication, and we'll do switchover. We call DR drill activity. Every organization will do a DR drill activity once in a year at least. What that mean? They'll convert production database as a standby database and the standby database as a production database. That's called DR drill. So that any disaster scenario happens, they should be able to run their business. So that's a DR drill. We'll be converting this production database as a standby or the standby as a production. And later we're going to convert back the standby again. And this is back to production again. So that's the DR drill activity also will be covered here in this particular chapter number 18. Right. So that's about chapter number 18, and going to chapter number 19, that's the self scripting. So as a DBA, so automation is very, very important. So we'll be covering um, the shell scripting, how we can write a small shell script to monitor or to manage or to maintain your database. All will be covered, starting with some basic understanding of shell script and followed by some of the advanced scripting to monitor your databases. and followed by your export and import. That's a logical object, right? What, give one context on that. You have prod database here, and you have development database here. So as of today, you restored or cloned your production database to developer development database. Your database is of 100 TB, right? And then after 1 month, your developers, they will say, so there is a table here in this production database. The table name is A. And can you get, like, when you restore today, the table A has 1 million records. And when you restore it here, the table A will be having 1 million record. After a month, your developer will say, okay, can you get the latest data of my production database? Like, again, you have to drop your entire 100 terabyte database and take a backup of this 100 terabyte database and restore it back, so that now your table A become 1.5 million record after 1 month. So uh, to restore that entire 100 TB is become a tedious. Then we'll ask him, what is your ask? What is your need? Then he will say, I want only the table A from production latest data, because in development I can see only 1 million record. In production it has 1.5 million record on that table. I want that only table A. How you can do, instead of doing this entire 100 terabyte restore, is there any way to take this only table A backup and then restore it on this development database? That's your export and import. Export and import is for your logical objects. So this table, views, synonym, indexes, all are called logical objects of my database. So to export those logical objects, we have to use this export and import. It's at granular table level or the schema level. You can export it from one database and restore it in the other database, rather than doing an entire database restore on the target server. Right? That's a table export import, and there are a lot of options here. How I can do parallelism, how I can tune that, speed up that export import, and then how I can do encryption, how I can migrate the table schemas, entire database. All those will be discussed over here in this export and import. Along with that, we have two more concepts in the export and import called external tables and SQL loader will be covered here in this export and import. Right, followed by uh, again, these are like features. 12C and 19C new feature. There are like hundreds or thousands of new features in 12C and 19C. We'll be discussing on that. And followed by these are like chapter number 22, 23, 24, 25 are all based upon performance tuning. Your database query. Most of the interview they'll ask, my query is running long time. My database update is taking longer time. And how we're going to monitor, how we're going to make sure that your database is running fine, it is optimally uh, running fine, and then don't have any performance issues. Right, we'll start with generating AWR report, ADDM, ASH, how to read them, how to understand them, and then how to give a recommendation to developer. Right, my query is running slow, my database is hanging, my database is running slow, and then how are going to tune them, how are going to fix them by rebuilding in the gather stats, generating AWR report, and your there are a lot of things we're going to cover here. These 4 chapters are purely based upon real-time scenarios, based upon how you're going to tune your database and make sure that your database is running in optimal performance. Right. So with that, so those are like scheduled topic for this course, and we'll be covering resume writing and cover letter. So that will be like one of the most important tasks. Once you learn the course, the purpose of the course is to get a new job, get new opportunities. And to get a new job and new opportunities, you have to build your strong resume and cover letter. So we'll cover on that, how we are going to build your resume and cover letter with examples of my own resume. I'll be like giving some tips and advices that how you're going to build your resume and cover letter. And each and every topic, whatever I discussed, will be having its own questions and answers. Whatever the possible interview questions they're going to ask will be covered on that. And at the end of the course, also we'll rewind all the mandatory questions and answers, what are expected during the interview. And with that, we'll be taking a one-to-one mock interview. Believe me, this is like kind of a real-time interview. You will be having one-to-one interview with me, and then I'm gonna ask you. It's kind of a real-time experience where when you're going for interview, so how that feeling will be, and if you're making any mistake on that, so we'll be giving some tips at the end of the mock interview. So this again, it is subjected to individual interest. If you're interested, after end of the course, I'll be connecting with you for one-to-one discussion for the interview, mock interview. How it be like, how the questions will come, and how you could made better, and then where you made a mistakes, and what are the tips I'm going to be taking one-to-one, and then giving some hints or suggestions on that. Right. Any questions on this course curriculum or the course topic you want to discuss, or any questions? I'll give 1 or 2 minutes, and then anyone has any question, feel free to unmute or ask your questions here.
Hi, Malik. This is Gopi.
Yeah, Gopi.
Can you please explain what is a refresh? I mean, a database refresh.
Database refresh is your cloning. Whatever this.
Okay, so
Where is it? Okay.
yeah,
Chapter number
please,
15.
please.
Chapter number 15,
Yeah.
database cloning. People will call it as a, can you duplicate the database? Can you clone the database? Can you refresh the database? Or can you build a new database? Everything is called as a cloning, R-man cloning.
Okay. So refresh and cloning is similar terms. I mean, same.
Yep. Yep, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Malik.
Yeah, please.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to find out, since you said that the mock interview is kind of subjective,
One-to-one.
do we have to still make an extra payment, or the payment for the course already?
No extra payment on that. It'll be part of the course.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, great.
Any more questions, guys? Anything you want to clarify? Of course, there will be some concerns or some questions like, this particular course curriculum is built based upon my experience as a DBA. If you start working in any customer, any enterprise customer, what are possible day-to-day activities coming into you? This course is made based upon the real-time experience, what I have it. And if you compare this course with any other institute or Oracle's university, whatever the course, it is much more. These topics are not at all covered in that particular course curriculum, because this is huge. This particular course curriculum is huge, what I feel, because I made this course curriculum based upon my experience as a DBA. If you start working, what are the possible activities you will get it in day-to-day activities? That's where I formed this particular course by my own, and then it's gonna help. It's gonna help definitely for anyone. And this is particularly made for anyone who is entering into DBA world. It will be start from the scratch, and it will go till advanced level. And anyone who's entering into DBA world or having 1 year, 2 year experience, definitely opt for this particular course, because this is from the scratch beginning till the advanced level. And at the same times, if you are already experienced with 5 years, 10 years, and this particular course is opted by many DBAs who are 10 years, 15 years of experience from last 1 year or 2 years, they all are like opting this course. They wanted to refresh, they wanted to understand in depth, and they wanted to understand some of the advanced concept what I'm covering here, right? So this includes from the scratch, from the beginning till advanced level, and in-depth understanding of each and every concept of my database. So this particular course is also meant for junior DBAs or the newcomers who is entering into this Oracle world. And if you are experienced with the 5 years, 10 years, doesn't matter. This course is for everyone, because it go from the scratch and it will go till advanced level. And of course, if you're already 10 years of experience, some of the topics are not relevant to you because you might be already aware, but you have to bear with that because it is not for particularly targeting to, experienced persons or the junior DBA. It is from the beginning till advanced level. Everyone can attend this course. Right. With that.
Hi, Malik.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So I wanted to also find out, I didn't see anywhere where you mentioned real application cluster.
That's a different course. Rack will not be covered
here.
here. Will not be covered at part of this course. So if you want a rack, you can go to again same on training, go for the rack. So we have the separate course the curriculum for the rack.
Okay, it's different from this, right?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, all right.
Right. So that's the course curriculum. And quickly touch base on course details. It means when are you going to cover this course and what's the fee structure. And as you see, the course fees is 10,000 Indian rupees. Pretty much it will be $125 US. This is the course fees. And This course is weekdays batch, daily 2 hours. What that mean? We're gonna start this course from Monday to Friday and no classes on Saturday and Sunday. This is a weekday batch, Monday to Friday, 9 AM IST to 11 AM IST. That will be around 10:30 PM EST to 12:30 AM EST, 2 hours on Monday to Friday. And today and tomorrow are going to be demo classes. Second and third are demo classes, and followed by weekend, Saturday, Sunday, fourth and fifth. And sixth is the one, 6th Feb is gonna one. We're gonna start the actual classes starting from 6th. It'll go for 1 week till 10th, and again weekends, followed by again 13 to 17. So this is the basically weekday batch, Monday to Friday, and 2 hours on each days, 9 AM IST to 11 AM IST in Indian time, or 10:30 PM EST to 12:30 AM EST. That's Eastern time, and approximately around 45 days. That's the maximum upper limit. 45 days we're gonna completing this course. That will be around 90 hours. Right. That's about
Do you have
the.
any weekend?
Mhm.
Do you have any weekend sessions? I mean, trading.
No,
Or is it just the weekdays?
just weekdays, no weekend sessions.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
All right.
So also
Malik,
Malik,
Yeah, please go ahead.
yeah, Malik. Can you suggest me as the level 1 DBA? Is it better to get simultaneously like rack and database courses, or one after the other?
Go
I
for
mean,
database first.
okay,
Go for database first, and then followed by go to rack.
okay. First, I had to complete this one, and then I had to take time for rack,
Right.
not simultaneously like weekdays and weekends.
You cannot do that. If you do, if you're already aware some of the little bit basics of database, you already worked on 1 year, then you can do that
Mhm.
one. But if you're entering into new DBA, then first complete database and then go to the rack.
Yeah. As a 15 years experience guy, I'll do whatever you said. I'll
In
go
that
first
case,
with
you
data.
can go for it. Yeah, no, if you're already having experience, then you can go for simultaneously both the courses because you have a lot of time.
No, I don't have experience. I'm just saying you have 15 years experience, so I'll just take the
Okay,
inputs
got
from
it.
you.
Got it.
Yeah. I just go ahead what you have said. I'll just go
Right.
for database first, then. Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right. But any questions, guys, before we proceed further?
Do you have an upcoming rack training class?
Right. Yeah, you can ping me on my WhatsApp, or you can check it on my blog. It has already
Okay.
at the time.
Okay. Thanks.
All right.
So,
Any more questions, guys?
Malik, good morning. So Malik, I have one question. So
Yep.
are you going to provide VMs to everyone to do the installation?
Right. We'll come to that point.
Mhm.
How it works and where you're going to install. What are the things you need to be aware? Right.
Okay.
Since
And
you asked that question, I can quickly touch base on that. So what happens here? We are going to do setup in everyone's laptop. As you see here, chapter number first, we'll start with this setup here. So for that, minimum everyone's laptop needed 8 GB RAM because we're going to set up the lab on individual laptop. We need a minimum 8 GB of RAM and minimum 100 GB of hard disk. You should have 100 GB of HDD hard disk and 8 GB RAM. These are the minimum requirement. You should have it. Otherwise, you'll not be able to do a lab setup on your laptop and you'll not be able to do a hands-on experience. So this is a minimum requirement. Before opting for this course, make sure that you have 8 GB RAM or 100 GB hard disk in your laptop so that you can do a setup of your own lab in your laptop.
okay, got it. Thank you.
All right.
Malik,
Yeah, please.
so I'd like to ask, is this course sufficient for us to, as DBAs, we have to be certified as well, just to help us, gain
Right.
better chance. So does it help us, take maybe the OCA exams,
Let's
OCP?
understand, if you ask that question, let's understand here. We have 3 major certificate, OCA, OCP, and then rack. 3 certificate, we have it in Oracle. These are like very brilliant certificate. If you have this certificate, you will be like value added to your resume and your positions in your industry, right? So this particular course, whatever we're covering, it covers for your OCA and OCP. Once you complete this course, you can attempt for your OCA and OCP certificates. And if you want to do a RAC certificate, you have to attend for the RAC course. That's a different altogether. So we're not at all talking about RAC here. And this particular course pretty much meant for your OCA and OCP. You will be able to clear your OCA and OCP once you complete this course. Right. That's one thing about certificate. And then coming to experience, once we complete this database course, this is a database course, what I'm talking about. And this particular database course, once you complete, you can work as a DBA pretty much between 1 year to 3 years of experience. You have 1 to 3 years of experience. Once you complete this course, you should be able to mention your resume with 1 to 3 years of experience, and you can be able to clear your OC and OCP certificate with this particular database course. And if you complete RAC course, which is I'm offering a different course, and with that RAC course, you should be able to clear this RAC certification. And then you can put pretty much 4 to 8 years or 10 years of experience in your resume once you complete your RAC course. Right? That's a minimal criteria for database and RAC course. For RAC, once again, database course, you can complete OC and OCP with this database course, and you can mention 1 to 3 years of experience in your resume. And if you complete a RAC course, and you can pretty much mention 4 to 8 years or 4 to 10 years of experience, and you can able to complete your RAC certificate from Oracle. Right?
Okay, so will the RAC course come up immediately after this database course?
Right, that's correct.
Okay.
All right, that's about the certificate and the course timing, course curriculum, and the fee structure, and what all the years of experience you can mention in your resume. With that, some of the important fact about this course, you will get access on all the materials on our Google Drive once you register for this course once you register for this course by making a payment. And whoever interested, ping me on my WhatsApp number. My WhatsApp number, probably you might be having +91 9880616 848. I'm going to ping here in the chat as well to everyone, and take a note of my number, and you can ping me, or you can discuss about the payment process further. But once you make a registration for this course and wanted to continue with this course, some of the important aspect about this course are like you will get access on all the PPTs, workbook, lab exercise, software, ready VMs, and previous batch recordings, some of the basics of RAC recordings, and some of the daily logs, and everyday sessions, whatever we're conducting will be recorded, right? And then it will be uploaded to Google Drive on the same day. And if you miss the course, you can pretty much go back and then watch that. And then we have a dedicated WhatsApp group for each batch, and any questions, queries will be discussed on that group. And then these recordings, these materials, and this WhatsApp group are lifetime accessible. And even after the completion of this course, you can post or ask any questions and queries. I'll be there to help and support you on that. Even it is for your work related, like you got any task and you're stuck, unable to continue, I'll be helping you in a right direction. Right? Any questions, any queries will be like asked and discussed on that. And then there's one extra announcement here. Suppose you register for this course now, and then due to some certain reasons, and you'll not be able to continue, and you went for some higher education, or you hit into some medical emergency, or you're going for some family urgency, and you're not able to continue, and your shift timing got changed, and you're not able to continue with this course. No worry on that. And whenever I'm starting a new batch, and you will be added to that WhatsApp group, and you will be joining that batch, and you no need to pay any extra money on that, right? It's like one-time payment, and you can have multiple times. You can attend this course again and again if you want to brush up yourself. But again, you have to make sure that you this opportunities once you register it. And if by any of this given reason, if you're not able to continue, you are allowed to attend future batches as well. You no need to pay any extra money on that. Right. Let's go here and then quickly show you that one in our Google Drive. Once you go here, and then you will be having all the related course materials here and all the course PPTs. Whatever course PPT I'm using, the single PPT will be used for the entire course, and which has all the course PPTs, course exercise, and lab exercise. All the labs will be having each and everything inside the course curriculum. And on the every day when we complete the session, we'll be uploading the recordings to Google Drive. You can watch them, and whatever the command I'm running it here, for example, this is a video, and whatever the command I'm running here, the same command, whatever I'm running here, I'll just copy everything. I'll paste it on the notepad here so that you can refer this text document, whatever I'm running the command while watching these videos, right? These videos are lifetime accessible. You can watch it, right? So with that, any questions or queries before I move further with the some of the technical content or technical discussion? Anyone has any questions about the course curriculum, course details, course timing, or the fee structure, or anything you want to know about me? I'm happy to talk on that. If not, then I'll proceed further with some of the discussion.
Hi, Malik. Bharat here, actually.
Hey, Bharat. Yeah.
Hello. Actually, what's the payment mode to pay the fees?
Right. I'll ping you in that. Ping me on my WhatsApp number. I don't want to.
Sure.
Ping me on my WhatsApp number. As I said, already posted my WhatsApp number here in the chat. So chat, you can ping me, or you can mail me, or you can call me. I'll share the further payment details. Right. Let's continue now a little bit on the some of the basics of Linux and basics of networking. So as I talked just now, any organization will be having their own data center. Let's assume here, let's draw a diagram. So I'll be having my own data center, assuming that it may be in cloud or it may be our own on-premises data center. So I'll just put down here my on-premise data center, which will be in London. My data center, I can say my organization is abc.com. So my organization is abc.com, which is running. I am running my organization, and this organization has my data center in London. And in this London data center might be like, again, as I said, it may be cloud. Your data center might be running in cloud, or it may be on-premises data center, and your servers might be running in cloud or on-premise data center. Assuming that this is a cloud or on-premise data center, doesn't matter. I have a data center, London data center, and inside that London data center, I'll be having many servers, right? So I'll be having many servers to run my database, run my application, run my any database. It may be your Windows data set, Windows server, or Linux, or RHEL, or Red Hat, Ubuntu, SUSE, AX, anything. These are like your operating system. These are your servers running under your data center. Again, the data center might be in cloud or maybe your on-premise data center. And this data center, you can say server one. This is, I just simply give server one.abc or server one.abc.com. So you'll be similarly, you'll be seeing like this. When you start working on any organization, you will see your server name followed by your domain name, server one.abc.com, server two.abc.com, server three.abc.com. Like, you'll be having your server name. These are typically called host name, right? So I'll just put a note here, like that's called your host name. Each and every server, it may be your Linux, right? I'll just put down like it may be your Linux, AX, or SUSE Linux, or Ubuntu, or anything. It may be your Windows or anything. That is a server OS flavor which will be running under your data center, and that will be having a host name. And then the host name will be having its IP address, right? So each host name will be having its IP address, 192.168.1.100, anything. Like I'm giving some random IP address, right? Just take example. I'll take two example. One is server one and server two. I have two servers, server one.abc.com and server two.abc.com. I can put this one as my server two. I have server one here, and assuming that this is my database server. and where my prod DB is running here. How, as a DBA, I'm going to connect to my prod server here? One way, typically, if you talk about how you're going to connect to your laptop is in front of you. You're going to open your laptop and turn on laptop and then log in with your username and password, and then you can work on that. Similarly, if you go to London data center, if you're in front of the server, and you can pretty much turn on that server and connect to that server, and you can start working on that. So that's a typically, ideally, you're going to data center, standing in front of the server and operating that server and then working on that server. So that's not the ideal way how IT industry works, right? So because your data center will be somewhere in your remote server, it may be like London, and as a DBA, we are accessing those servers via remote connections. It may be where I'm sitting in India, this server is in London. I can access that server via remote connections, right? If somebody, my team sitting in US, or somebody, my team sitting in New York, or somebody, my team sitting in Washington, DC, they all will be able to connect to these servers via remote connections, and then they can access my server. So for that remote connections, we have RDP for Windows. If that server is a Windows server, we use something called RDP. So if you search in your laptop, remote desktop connection, RDP, it's a built-in tool with your Windows laptop. And we're going to use this RDP to connect my servers remotely. That server, for example, this is my Windows server. Just giving an example, this is my Windows server, and this is my Linux server. Server 1 is Linux server where database is running. Server 2 is my Windows server. To take a Windows server remote, you have to use RDP. And to take a remote connections of your Linux server, you use something called PuTTY or MobiXterm, right? Using these tools, we're going to take my Linux server remotely, right? So if I take RDP or PuTTY session remotely, so we'll be getting black screen. When you take a PuTTY or MobiXterm Linux session, like once you connect your lab one, you'll be getting a remote session with a command line. And as if you are going to data center, standing next to your server and logged into that server and then operate it. So instead of that, you will just connecting to that PuTTY sessions using PuTTY session or MobiXterm. You're going to connect to your Windows server using RDP, sorry, Linux server using RDP. You're going to connect to Windows server. Once you connect, you're going to operate whatever command you want. So to use RDP or PuTTY session or MobiXterm, we use either a host name or the IP address. Right, let's go here, host name or IP address. So in this case, for example, here, if I do host name for this server, so this is my host name. And if I type host name -I, they're going to give me IP address. So I can use a PuTTY session or MobiXterm using those two. I can use a host name or the IP address to connect to my server. If I can go here, this is the PuTTY session here. This PuTTY session here, I can either use the host name or I can use the IP address to connect to my database or connect to my server. If I use a IP address or the host name, doesn't matter, both are same. So it's going to ask me what's your login. I'm going to log in with the root and what is the password for that root user. So I should be able to connect to my server. This is one way, like PuTTY session. I can use the PuTTY session to connect to remotely my server using a host name or the IP address. This is MobiXterm here. Whatever you're seeing, this is my MobiXterm connection. And if I can click on this new session, and it'll ask me SSH session. And then again, if I give host name or the IP address, doesn't matter. So I can give IP address again, or I can give host name. It both will connect. And again, who is the user you want to connect? Root. Right, they're going to connect to that particular server. Right, that's how you can access your servers, which are remotely some data center using PuTTY or MobiXterm will connect to Linux server. Using RDP will connect to Windows server. Once you connect, and then we'll start further. So these are the tools you need it, RDP and PuTTY session to connect to that remote servers. And what else you need it? Your username and password, username and password. Right now I used here root username and the root password. That's a master user for Linux system. Root username and the password. That's master user. Only Linux admin will be having a root access. You should have your username and you should have your password. So for example, I can say here Malik user. I can connect using Malik user. Right. If I want to check whether my user ID created here on this server or not, there's something called etc passwd. So this is the file etc passwd, and you can grep for whatever username. So I have Malik, Malik 1, Malik 2, and Malik 3. The 4 users are created on this server. You need to check for etc passwd and the username. Grep for that username. Grep is a command in this particular file. There are thousands of hundreds of users. I'm just grepping for Malik. So I got 4 users on this server. 4 Malik users. Malik, Malik 1, Malik 2, Malik 3 are connected. So a Linux admin can reset the password. For example, Malik user, I'll reset the password. Passwd and then the username. So it'll ask enter the new password for that Malik user. Right. So the reset has been done for Malik user. I set the password, and then as the Linux admin, he will reset the password for that user, and then the username and password he will give it to Malik. So assuming that Linux admin has given username and password for me, my username and password, then I can directly connect using my username and password. So I'll directly connect with Malik, my username, and whatever the password is given by my Linux admin. Right. So now I connected with the Malik user. So sometimes you will see username here and sometimes you can see bash. So for that, what you can do, you can just type ID. The moment you type ID, it will tell you which user currently logged in with this session here. The ID, which will tell Malik is the user who logged in. Right. And then let's reset the password for Malik 1. Linux admin, again, root user can do this resetting the password. Right. Malik 1 user also password has reset. Let's take one more session with Malik 1. Malik 1 and followed by the password, whatever given to that Malik 1. Right. Malik 1 followed by your host name and connected to your server. Same thing again, one more session you can take. Reset the password for Malik 2. Again, these are like tasks your Linux admin will do that, resetting the password and all. Now let's take one more session for this same server. Now this time I can use Malik 2. Right. Connected to Malik 2 and followed by your host name. So just type ID here. It will be Malik 2. And just go to other session. Just type ID again here. It will be Malik 2. So each and user, your Linux admin will create them each and every users and reset the password. And then he will grant those passwords. He will share the password with individual users. And we connect to that particular server using our own credentials. And later we can switch to any user. If I want to switch to Oracle user, you can use a sudo or su Oracle. Right now I'll be into Oracle user. Su is a command to switch any user. I was a Malik user, Malik 1 user. Now I switch to Oracle and I can see su Malik 1, Malik 2. From Oracle user, I'm going to switch to Malik 2. Su stands for switch user, Malik 2. They're going to go into Malik 2 now. So su stands for switching user from one user to other user, provided you know the password or the sudo passwordless sudo was enabled, sudo authentication was enabled in the sudo list. Right. This is the users, how you can log in, and make sure that any users log in, they will log into their home directories. These are like home directories. Malik, Malik 1, Malik 3, and Malik and Oracle. Any users log in, they will be under their home directory, home followed by the username. If I can go to here home as a root user, right? So you can write PWD, present working directory. Present working directory will tell you which directory you are currently available. Presently you are standing. You are right now home directory. CD is to change directory. If I do CD/TMP, they're gonna go into temp directory. So PWD, right? You are into temp now, right? If I do CD/root, so they're gonna go into this root directory. Always start with a slash. That's a root directory. From there, you can have a lot of directories inside that. PWD, you are into root. Right, let's go to home directory and check how many users. So the moment I do LSF and LTR, and I can see how many users here. Varadev, Satish, Malik 3, Malik 1, Oracle, Malik 2. Either you can go to home directory and then check how many users are created on the server. Or as I said, you can go to this cat etc passwd and there'll be huge here. Like these are like service account built in comes with your Linux. And at the end, whatever you're seeing here, Malik 2, Malik 1, Malik Sait, Varadev, Oracle, Malik, these are your custom user what you created. The same thing you can validate here, these home directories for those all the users. Right, that's a home directory and individual user password reset. And then once you get a username and password, you can using a host name and IP address, you can connect to that particular server. Right. Once you connect, again, host name is a command to check that fully qualified host name or host name -f. They're gonna give you fully qualified like short name and your domain name, fully qualified host name -f. Or if you do host name -i, the IP address of that server, right? Or you can do ifconfig to list out all the interfaces. It has interface 1, interface 2, and this is a loopback interface and it's a virtual interface. So this is the interface 1 and interface 2. These are like NIC card. The NIC card, whatever comes with your Linux server or your laptop default comes with one internet port. So similarly, all the servers will comes with the NIC cards, NIC cards, that's called Ethernet ports or the NIC cards. So this server has the two interfaces and only one interface is connected with IP and other one does not have IP. Right, that's a IP address, ifconfig, which will give you IP address of that particular server. Right. So that's how you can validate your host name or the IP address, or once you get your username and password, how you're going to connect to that particular Linux server. Right. That's the basics, core minimal basics, what is needed for a DBA. And remaining all CD is to go to that directory, whatever the directory you want, like home directory I want to go, or I want to go to /tmp temp directory, or I want to go to /u01, and whatever you want, you can go using CD and then check for the permissions. What are the directories available? ls-l or ls-ltrh. So that's going to give me how many files, how many directories are available inside that. Like in U01, if I do ls-ltrh, I can see these many directories are available. How I can see these are directories? The very first thing will tell you whether it's a directory or a file. If I can go here, let's go to app, and if I can go to Oracle, ls-ltrh, and again if I can go to cfg2 logs, let's do ls-ltrh, and go to any one directory now, dev or sql patch or dba, anywhere like chain directory is going to give me the particular directory, which directory I want to go and what are those inside that. Right now, you can see this is the directory. How I can say this will start with a D here. The very first thing, whatever you're seeing here, D, that's the directory. And whatever these two files are dash. Dash means those indicate those are the files. Right. So again, I don't know where I'm right now. PWD, that's going to give me which path I am currently in. Right. So sometimes once we install the software, we have to go to that Oracle home. So if I do cat etc, like if I want to check a file, this particular file, what is there inside that, I have to use a cat or I have to use a VI. Cat will display everything. So if I can go temp directory and check for any small files, or if I can go to cat etc, do lsf and ltr Oracle, I'll just do Ora. So I'll just cat this is the file. Like if I do LSF and LTR, I'm just listing it for only Vara, whatever the start with Vara. These are the 3 files. And if I want to read this file, I do cat and I can enter. This is my content of that file. So if I simply go and I can create vi malik.txt. Vi is the editor, vi editor. You can create your own file, malik.txt. That's gonna go into your new line, escape I, that will be like insert mode. I can type anything like Malik. So and then save, colon and WQ. W is for save, Q is for quit, come out of that. Right now, if I do LSF and LTR, I got one file, I created one file. If I do cat, I can do cat of that file, that will display what is there inside that file. And again, if I want to go vi, same file, again, I'll be go inside that. And then I will again insert mode, come down, Oracle. You can type whatever you want inside that file. Right. So Malik, Oracle, DBA, just WQ, save that file. Again, now you do cat Malik that file, it'll be like coming on that. Okay, there will be a lot more we can cover because these are the basics needed for DBA. As and when we continue with the courses, I'll be covering all these basics of Linux and networking. But for now, I'll stop it for at this point. I wanted to show that first how that user will log into that servers and then how he'll do all these basic activities. Right. And then how we can play around that IF config, IP address or the host name. So once you know about that, that's fair enough now to continue further. Right. So that is for your basics at what I wanted to cover right today, because without knowing that how to connect, and you can connect using IP address and host name, and you will not be able to continue further discussion, right? So now we'll jump on to that database and little bit on database architecture and then the types of databases. So Oracle will provide a software. We can call it as a Oracle software. Oracle will provide a software, like as I said, 11G, 12C, 19C, or 18C. These are currently available softwares. Sorry, let's put it here. 18C and 21C and 23C. These are the naming convention. G stands for grid. In 11G, they started with the grid computing. And in 12C, they started with the C. C stands for cloud computing. And 18C stands for, again, this has become standard now going forward. Cloud is good. Like prior to 11G, they had 10G. And prior to 10G, they had, let's say here, 7I. I stand for internet, 8I and 9I. So they had like 7I, 8I, 9I, and followed by that's I. Internet was boom in those days, and later grid computing was boom. On those days, they started with the naming convention 10G, 11G, and nowadays cloud is in boom. So they will be change the naming convention 12C, 18C, 19C, 21C, and 23C. That's the latest release as of now. Right, that's the naming convention how they came up with. And these are the software what Oracle will releases. And you have to design. Like right now, this is my Oracle Lab 1. So in this particular Oracle Lab 1, what database version I want to install? I want to install 19C. That ask is install and create 19C database. Right. So they will say install and create 19C database or create 19C database. So any one of that, like they maybe install and create 19C database or create 19C database, anything they will ask. Create 19C database, how will create? Without the software, right? For that, you need to first download 19C software from Oracle. That's the first step. Download 19C software. So I'm going to talk about that in actual classes, from where you can download, how you can download. Or they maybe ask you 21C or 23C or 12C. First, you need to download the software. Second one is install software on target host on a particular location. Right. So this is your second step. You need to download that software, and I can put that like, once you download, copy that 19C software into target server. Right. So this is your target server, Oracle Lab 1. The ask is to install your or create 19C database. What you need to do, you need to go to internet or Oracle site, download that 19C software, copy that software to your target server. That will be your Oracle Lab 1. Once you copy that software to your Oracle Lab 1, that's a target server. And then install that software on that target host. That will be again same Oracle Lab 1. And which location? Because software has to be installed on a particular location, right? Like you can go with the U01, or you can go with the U02, or you can go with the OPT, or you can go with the app. So you need to create these directories first. And wherever you want to install, you can install that software on that location. Typically, what Oracle recommends, the standard locations, let's put it down here, 12C /U01 app Oracle product 12.0.0/DB home _1. Same thing goes for your 19C. I'll just give an example here. These are like standard naming convention. Either you can go to only directly U01. U01, like you can go with like this. Let's continue with that. 19C. 19C. So typically somebody sees here, okay, this is a home. Okay. The software, wherever you install the software, that will become a home. And this is a 12C home. This is a 19C home. So somebody reads this naming convention, they will understand. These are like standard naming convention. So if I say, if I install software here, I think like let's take here 12C software. 12C software U01 DB home _1. If I say 19C software _2. If I install like this U01 under DB home 1, if I install 12C software, DB home 2, I install 19C software. If somebody who joins newly to my organization or my team, he'll not be able to see what version it is. 11G, 12C, 19C, 18C, he'll not be able to identify. So that's why, always follow the standards. Use your own app. Oracle is a base, followed by the product. I'm going to install that Oracle product, which is of 19C, and this is my software location. So typically we're going to install like this, right? So we should not, don't use this one. Don't use, right? So we should not use this shortcuts or like that. So these are like naming standards, right? That's your install your software. And once you install software that is called as a home, they'll start from, they'll call it as a Oracle, sorry, OH, Oracle home or Oracle software. Many people will call it as a Oracle home or Oracle software, or you can call it as a just home or Oracle home, database home. So any of these, all these words are remain same. Somebody people will say Oracle home. Just put it in Oracle home. Some people will call it as a Oracle home. Or some people will call it the Oracle software, or some people will call it the database home. All are remain same. That's a software location where you installed. So in my case here, software location here, same you can see U01 app Oracle product 19C DB1. So do ls. These are the software 19C software. You have to download and install it. And once you install it, that will become your Oracle home or Oracle software or the database software. Remains all are same here. So you install the software. And the fifth point is create database. Whatever the name they will give, what they name they will give. DevDB or TestDB or fraud DB or UATDB, whatever the name. This is the name of the databases. On top of this software, whatever the software you installed here, on top of this software, you are going to create a database. So this is a typical steps which involves if somebody asked you to create a database or if somebody asked you to install and create a database, doesn't matter. You have to follow these 5 steps. For download the software, copy into your target server, and then install that software on the target server on whichever the path where you want to install it. Install that software. Once you install that software, you can create a database. Right. So in my case here, if I do ps-ef grep smon, this particular server, Oracle Lab 1, has this particular dev CDB database created. This database, I know, like if I do ps-ef grep smon, I'll get which database they created here. But which software it is running, from where it is running, how I can get to know that one. Right? That's the challenging part. For that, you need to do cat etc vara tab. This is a file you need to check. This is the first command. You have to use this one, ps-ef, or like put down here. Like first command. This is your first command. You're going to run it. The moment you run this ps-ef grep smon, that command will give you what database has been created on that server. Dev CDB is the database created on this particular server. This is the first command. As a DBA, will check it out. Second command, there's a file cat etc. We're going to do this cat of this etc vara file, etc vara file. The moment I run this one, and these are the entries at the end, I'll get it out. So what that indicates, in this server, Oracle Lab 1, I have a dev DB, I have a dev CDB, I have a DB1, DB3, and DB2. I have a 3. This is a commented out. So whatever commented out, we need to ignore that. And totally 5 databases they created on this server. On this particular server, Oracle Lab 1, they created a 5 databases. How I got to know? etc vara tab 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All these 5 databases are running from Oracle Home 1 19C. So one software you installed and you can run multiple databases on that server. That can be found using this vara tab file. And you created, or somebody or some DBA created 5 databases on this server here, as you see. But out of these 5 databases, how many databases are up and running? This command ps-ef grep smon will tell you how many are up and how many are down. Only your dev CDB is up and running, remaining are all down. Maybe some maintenance going on that databases, or maybe purposefully they brought it down for today. And you can start it out anytime. Right? That's your how you can install the software and create a database. And then once creation is done, you're going to maintain, you're going to manage that database. Right? So again, architecture will cover probably tomorrow. That's going to take deeper understanding. And quickly, I can cover one more point. That will be like types of databases. Right? So that's a architecture we'll cover later, because we talked about now how we can install, and later we see this particular database, how to understand this architecture. It has a SGA, PGA, data files, control files, redo log files, and SP file, P file, password file. That is comes under architecture. We'll talk on that in tomorrow's class. But now let's quickly understand. You are going to create this database, and some database is dev DB, dev CDB, dev 1, dev 2, dev 3. So what are the types of databases now? So typically types of databases, I can say one, standalone. Standalone DB, we can call it as a standalone DB. In that standalone DB, we scale standalone DB, standalone, and second one is Oracle Restart, and third one is rack. These are the 3 types of databases. And again, in rack, we can see rack 1 node. So rack DB or rack 1 node DB, these are the 2 types of databases. And standalone DB, Oracle Restart DB. So these are like, again, I can put them here, single server. This is single server and this is a rack server. So in this single server, you have a standalone DB and Oracle Restart DB. In this rack server, you have a rack DB and rack one node DB. These are the 4 types of database we'll see. As I say, it's single server and this is a rack server. So what that meaning? So let's go here in the paint. You have a single server and you have a single server. And if you install DevDB, that's called your standalone DB. In a single server, this is your single server architecture. In the single server, if you install DevDB, that's called standalone DB. And this is called in the single server again. If you install your ASM and if you run the DevDB, this is called Oracle Restart. Both are running under one node only, one server only. Here also this DB is running one server and this DB is running one server, but this is called standalone DB and this is called Oracle Restart. The reason behind that is you have a ASM here. This database is running under ASM and this database is running under OS file system. That's a major difference. So this is in bracket without ASM and this one is with ASM. Right, so with ASM, we typically call it as a Oracle Restart. Without ASM, we can call it as a standalone DB. Reason behind is, I already showed you here, right? So your standalone database, DevDB, there's no ASM here. All the data files are stored under OS system or the NFS and NAS. And here what happens, ps-f grep smon, and if this particular database is killed, like I can kill using OS command, kill -9, your DB is gone. Your DB is down, right? Your DB will never come online. Whereas in this other lab here, ps-f grep smon, you have a ASM here and all the databases, whatever running here, the database is stored under this ASM. I already showed you here. All the files are coming with a plus data. That's your ASM. So in this case here, if this database is killed, so if I take kill -9 and then check for smon, your DB is down. And wait for a few seconds, your DB will be automatically up. Right, so right now it is killed, test DB is killed, only I have one database, test DB. And you can see now here, test DB is back online automatically. Why it is back online? Your ASM has that feature. Any database is shut down or killed or process is hung, your ASM will automatically restart that database. That's where we can call it as a Oracle Restart DB. That is only possible with ASM.
Yeah, Malik, what is the full form of ASM?
ASM stands for Automatic Storage Management.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Yeah, that is one of the feature Oracle strongly recommends always go with the ASM. That is one of the feature I just explained, right? So if somebody kills the database due to OS issue, network issue, that database is gone down and it automatically comes up. Your ASM has that built-in functionality. One is this is storage. ASM will give a storage for your database. All your database files are stored under ASM. And the other one is if your database is go down, your ASM will automatically brings up. Right, you no need to worry at all, because if you're working as a DBA and you're working in a night shift and your server crashed due to some network issue or OS issue, and if you don't have ASM, you have to get up in the midnight and then start your databases, right? If you don't have ASM, right? If you are running with this Oracle Lab 1, right now your DB will never come up. You have to manually go to database and manually start it. And if you have ASM, you don't need to worry. ASM will bring it online for you. That's where we can call it as a Oracle Restart. Right. That is for 2 types of databases in standalone server, right? Whatever I talked about is a standalone. And this course is pretty much about standalone. We're going to talk about these 2 databases. We are nowhere touch base on this rack servers. Rack server is a different concept. Let me explain that. What is that? That's the other course. Rack server is, let's take example here. You have 2 server and combining together, right? You can say node 1 and node 2. You're going to install here ASM1 and you're going to install here ASM2. ASM1 and ASM2. The moment you install ASM1 and ASM2, what ASM will do, ASM will form a cluster of these two nodes. It's a clustering at your Oracle side, not at the OS side. These are the two servers, node 1 and node 2. And the moment you install ASM here, ASM will start it as a ASM1 and ASM will start it as a ASM2. These two together, it become rack, two node rack. And the moment for these two servers, you're going to add a common storage. You're going to attach them common storage for these two nodes, right? These are your storage. You're going to add the storage disk. These disks are going to be added to both the servers. And you're going to create your database, whatever this DevDB you're going to create a database. DevDB instance 1 will create here and instance 2 is going to create here. This instance 1 and instance 2, those are the instances running under 1 and 2. And for these two databases, the files, whatever I showed here, these are the files, right? Each database has the system, sysocs, undo, user. These are the database files. And for these two instances, the data files are going to store under here, the common shared location. Why? Because if your clients, like, client 1 connected to node 1 for this DevDB database, he can access the same data where your table A is reside under that data file. And client 2, who is connected to your node 2, he is going to access that database via this instance 2. And again, they're going to access the same data, the common table, they're going to get it. So that's a rack database. You're going to have multiple servers and you will be running your instances. These are called instances for the same database. The DevDB database, that's the storage files. You're going to store it on that common storage and you're going to running that instance 1, instance 2, instance 3, instance 4, like based upon how many servers you have it. And you're going to distribute the load. It's called high availability, right? 10 users can connect to node 1, 10 user can connect to node 2. That's a rack feature, high availability. If this particular server goes down, automatically this connected 10 user will be failed over to this existing node. That's called a failover. All those users, user 1, user 10, all the 10 users who are connected to your databases node 1 and they're accessing the same database, the node is down, the server is went down, automatically all those 10 users will be routed to your other existing node. That's a rack fundamental architecture. That is for multiple nodes can serve a single database and you can distribute your loads across multiple servers. And then multiple servers who are connected, they can access the same data. That's called your rack database. That's other types of database will be covered in the other course. That's the rack DB. What's a rack one node DB? The rack one node DB is same. You should have the same rack setup, but you are going to start only one instance at a time. For example, if it's a rack one node, I'll shut down this instance. Always instance 1 will be running. And any users, they have to connect to node 1 and access my database. If this node goes down, automatically this rack 2 will be started here. That's a rack 1 node. Even though it's a rack database, but only one instance will be running at any given time. You cannot start multiple instances. That's the difference between your rack 1 node and the rack database. Rack database, multiple cluster nodes, multiple instance will be running. Any user connected to any of the host, he can able to access the database. But in rack 1 node, any one instance will be up and running at any given point of time. If that node goes down, and automatically other instance will be started. Right now, rack DevDB1 is up and running. If this node goes down, if this node 1 goes down, automatically DevDB2 will start. So that's called rack 1 node. That's a one more type of database you can get it. Right? These are the 4 types of databases what you can get it in Oracle. Right? These two will not be covered as part of this course. These two will not be covered. We'll be covering only this single server and standalone DB and Oracle restart with the ASM and without ASM. So will be covered in this particular course. All right. That's it for the today's planned session, guys. Any questions before we wind up for today? Any last questions or anything you want to know about the course or any questions you want to discuss or clarify?
Malik,
Yep.
in what situation are we supposed to use ASM? Is there a particular situation we have and then we say, okay, this is ASM
Again,
we're going to use, or is
we'll talk more when in details when we talk about this ASM architecture, and already explained two important feature why we need to use ASM. One is the restart feature. I just showed you demo also. If you kill your database instance, your instance is down, DB down, automatically your ASM will take care of that. ASM will manage that instance. You no need to manually get up in the midnight and start your database. That's one feature. Second feature, your database resides under that ASM storage, and any database resides under ASM, it will be much more faster in reading and writing. And this particular database here, which is residing under your OS file system, you have to depending upon your OS operating system IOs, where the performance is not good when your database is residing under OS file system. If your database is residing under ASM, your performance of database will be much more better. And these are the two examples I given. But when we start the ASM class, I'll talk about other advantages. You have a ACFS file system only possible with ASM. You have a mirroring, you have a striping, you have a disk groups, you have fail groups. All this concept comes under ASM. All are the new features and new advantages for your databases. Right? Yeah, there are a lot more things.
Okay.
Why ASM? There are a lot more things, lot more advantages.
okay? So, someone has
Malik,
a
are there
question.
any scenarios? Are there any scenarios where ASM failed to restart DBs? Are there any scenarios like that as well?
Yes, there is one drawback. If your ASM goes down, your database will go down, right? Your ASM should be always up and running. If somebody kill this ASM instance, your DB also will go down. And there are some scenario, your ASM is up, your DB will not be up. That again will cover in our actual classes, because you should have this database should have proper pointers, but this database should have pointers to my ASM disk group. These are my ASM disk groups. One example, if I quickly share here, I'll set my ASM here, .varinv. I'm going to set it to ASM now. And then I'm going to go into ASM CMD -P. So this is your ASM command line. It will go into ASM command line. So you created ASM and your database is residing under your ASM. And then how you're going to manage that ASM? So this ASM command line is a tool you're going to use. LSDG will give you all the disk groups, whatever right now available, data and disk group B, disk group C, OCR and RICO. Your database, you are going to store it on any of these disk groups here, either data or OCR and RICO. For example, whatever I showed here, this particular test DB, which is residing under data. If I can go here till, and these are the data files, right? So your ASM is running, your database is not running, most probably your disk groups are not mounted. Right now, these disk groups, you can see it is mounted here. When you connect your ASM CMD, LSDG, list disk group, and your disk group should be mounted. If it is unmounted, if it is not mounted, then your database will never start, because the disk group itself is not available where your data is residing. Right, that's a dependency. Again, we'll talk more on that in ASM class. But there are scenario, if your ASM goes down, your DB will go down. And other scenario, your ASM is up, but DB will not start. So reason being your disk groups where your data is residing, that is not mounted. All right. Anything else,
Malik,
guys?
someone has a question. Someone has a question in the chat box.
Does it start database only when the database crashes, or also when shutdown database using shutdown immediate? Again, you should understand, right? Shutdown immediate, that is you brought it. You are telling ASM, boss, I'm setting my database and don't start it. When you do all these activities, shutdown immediate or SQL plus shutdown, ASM will never start that database, because that's a maintenance activity. You are bringing the database down for some maintenance activity. Your ASM will not tell. The shutdown immediate, SRC will stop whatever you do the database level. You are telling ASM that not start it. All right. All right, guys, let's stop it. If no more questions, let's stop it today, and then let's connect tomorrow, and then we'll start with the tomorrow with some of the DB architecture, and followed by some of the database connectivity. As I said, how a user can connect to database from the remote server. Right now, let's assume here I have this Oracle Lab 1. How I can connect to this Oracle Lab 1 using my laptop, and then I have Lab 2. From this Lab 2, how I can connect to my Oracle Lab 1 database, whatever the database running here, how I can connect that one. Let's do that, how the remote connection works in my database, and then along with my database architecture. All right, let's stop it now here if no questions, and then we'll connect tomorrow, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Malik.
Are we getting this recording today?
Thank you.
Malik.
All right, yeah,
Thank
you
you.
can ping me on my WhatsApp. Nice. I'll touch base.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Malik. Thank you so much.